Hi, and welcome back to Dirty Burns Garage. Today we're going to be playing around with this little Troy Bilt pressure washer. This thing's got some issues. I'm going to give you a little backstory on it. This belongs to a coworker and friend, Adam. It came here originally with some issues involving the carburetor and whatnot. I think it had sat for a little while before it actually came to me. Adam started playing with the carburetor. Either he got in over his head, maybe he didn't have the time or whatever. He started stripping it down. I ended up, it's been here about a year anyway. I took it and cleaned the carburetor really quick, and I hooked it up to some water. I want to make sure the pump was good, and it was not pumping anything. At which time I told Adam, I said, you know, I think the pump's shot, probably from sitting or whatever. So we both kind of wrote it off. Now, recently, you're going to see my video titled Two Troy Bilts. I ended up, I fixed another pump for a gentleman. And prior to that, I had thought that these pumps were not serviceable. And I guess a lot of people think the same thing because I see these in the scrapyard quite often. So today what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and take this pump apart, pull the unloader valve off of it, and see if we can't clean that up a little bit and try for that. And we're going to do a little engine work, well, a little more than engine work, but we're going to go ahead and take care of that also. But I want to give you a quick walk around this thing just to show you something. It had been sitting for quite some time, even before I got a hold of it. This isn't going to show too good with the sunlight, but you can see the pull cover's all rotted and everything. It's to the point that I think a few more pulls and it's going to snap off completely. So that's not worth anything. It was missing all the top shrouding, all the filter system for the carburetors. I think Adam pulled that off and it's all missing. I mean, I could have found those pieces, no problem, but not a big deal. But here's where the thing's taking actually a little bit of a twist here. That pressure washer's a 2004. This is a complete engine off of a 2006 pressure washer, basically the same thing. I actually picked this engine up from the scrapyard, and this was before this project even ever came about. I bought this engine for the flywheel, which I will explain that later in the video, but as you can see, this is a complete engine. Everything here, it appears to be in really nice shape. One issue I got to tackle on this, don't know if you can see it or not. If you look right there, you're going to see a lot of grass. I believe we're going to find that there's a critter made a nest inside of this engine. While I'm here, I'm going to head and pop the muffler off. This is a Briggs & Stratton Quantum. As all of them, they always leak out of those valve covers, so we're going to tackle it before the problem even begins. So, anyway, for right now, first order of business is I got to split this engine and this pump, get them off of the frame. I'm not going to tape that thing just because of the fact that the pump sticks to the shaft, and there could be some language involved with it from me that you probably don't want to hear. Anyway, let me get these two separated, and then we're going to go from there with it. Alright, so I'm happy to announce that the pump did come off the pressure washer with nothing but ease. When I took this one apart at the scrapyard, I had a little wrestling match with it. So I figured the other one sitting outside was going to end up just being crazy, but things slid right off like nothing, luckily. So anyway, what we're gonna do here, I gotta strip down the top of this engine. We're gonna see if there is actually a critter's nest inside of this thing. I'm gonna have to, I have no history on this engine, so we're gonna have to clean the carburetor, as I said, do that valve cover and everything. But for right now, we're just gonna pull the top of this thing apart and see what's going on in here. So it should only take me a minute. I got the old impact and everything ready, so shouldn't take too long whatsoever to do this job. I would really like to see this pressure washer running and pumping by the end of the day. I have the pump outside It's drip drying right now. I went ahead and just cleaned it off a little bit. And then I'll be bringing that one in. We'll go ahead and take the unload valve off of it and see what's going on with it. Oops. Probably help if I turn the air on, huh? Yeah, this one actually has all the bolts and everything to it. Doesn't look like it's ever been apart before. Hopefully this will go nice and quick. And then we're gonna drop bolts everywhere, which is typical. I'm just gonna leave that sitting off to the side for right now. My main concern, like I said, I want to see what's going on under this cover. Hopefully it's not too awful bad. Zap all the bolts off of here. What do we have? Of course, that stupid bracket binder, like they all do. Yeah. See what we got. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of glad that that wasn't too earlier in the season. We got a bee's nest in here too, but no vacancies right now though. So. But yeah, we had somebody living in here at one point. Yeah. While I'm here, I want to point something out to you. Let me grab this other flywheel real quick. All right, the reason why I bought this engine in the first place. This is your flywheel from a regular push mower. Same engine, Briggs & Stratton Quantum. You're gonna notice this thing's made of aluminum. Now, on a push mower, your balance comes from the blade. If you've ever mowed with a push mower with a bent shaft or a bent blade, you'll notice you have extreme vibration. This is the same engine as would be on a push mower, other than the crankshaft. But to balance these things, since there is no blade, this flywheel is actually made of cast iron. That's what balances balances the engine itself. And it's my own personal thought, nothing more. But it seems like if you take this flywheel and put it on a push mower engine, it has a little more inertia because of the weight, rotating force, whatever you want to, some scientific stuff, I don't know. It seems to really help out on a push mower as far as, you know, getting through thicker grass and everything. So any chance I see one of these things for a Quantum or the smaller engine, I'll usually grab them. I bought one of these flywheels off of eBay one time, and I'm just going to tell you, luckily at the scrapyard, I paid a fraction of that price for this entire engine that I bought the whole flywheel for. So it's actually ended up pretty good. But anyway, give me a little time here. We're going to get this carburetor off and everything, and then we'll, I'll show you, give you a little ins and outs on the carburetor, how it looks. All right, we're just going to give you a quick close-up of this engine, pretty much apart. You're going to see there is stuff everywhere, all under the flywheel. All these cavities are full. If you were to actually try and start this engine the shape that it was in, if it did actually start, it would probably catch on fire. This is a very common cause. You'll see a lot of mowers catch on fire every year because of this issue. So something to keep in mind. My mowers normally sit inside, but you know, when I first get one from the scrapyard or whatnot, I always pull that shroud and just check it, because it's just senseless. You know, even if it didn't catch on fire, it definitely would have overheated and killed the engine anyway. So I just figured I'd give you a close-up before I clean this thing up. And of course we hit a snag. Now, this is an old Quantum off a push mower. You know, pay attention here. This is your governor shaft. It's probably hard to see with the sun, but this whole unit's supposed to move as such. You notice, especially on a pressure washer, when it's running, you know, it runs at a certain speed. Then when you pull the trigger, you can hear the engine load down. That the governor here is what does that. It actually moves back and forth. Well, on the engine that I pulled apart, that shaft is lock solid. Unfortunately, it's probably mouse urine, everything else where that nest was. This shaft is actually twisting as I try it with vice grip. So I would have to split the case and, you know, get it out from the bottom and everything. I don't have a gasket in stock right now for this thing. So I think what we're gonna do for now is we're gonna actually use the original engine off of the pressure washer, and we're gonna put all these external parts on it, and hopefully that'll do the trick for right now. And then at a later date, this will make a perfect push mower engine or something. As I said, yeah, I'd have to change a crankshaft anyway, so it'll be a good video for later on. We'll show you how to repair the governor and change out a crankshaft, so go from there with it. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and tackle this pump, see what we can make of it. I'll give you a quick overview of what we're doing here. This right here is called your unloader valve. I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't know specifically exactly what it does, but it's something to do with putting pressure out to the wand itself. It's actually meant to move. That's why the spring here, it's actually adjustable. I'll show you the inside of it in a minute. I'm not actually taking the time to read up on what it does and everything. I've just watched several videos on this, and you know, multiple people having problems with this valve, showing you how to clean it and, you know, what it does and whatnot. So anyway, first thing, we're gonna go ahead and take this thing apart. First thing I gotta do is I gotta get this little clip out of here. Kind of hard to see. There's a little slot at the end of the screw here. The smaller nut, that's your lock nut, and this is your adjuster nut. Sometimes these things don't want to come out, so I'll show you a trick to that. But anyway, first off, we're gonna pull this this pin here out of here. You just do that with a screwdriver. Just kind of pry it out. And that just comes out of there like so. Now this pin, this whole valve should come out, which I didn't think it would. It's corroded in there. I kind of figured as such. But you're gonna go ahead and take the little little adjuster nut off of there, the little lock nut rather. Yeah, these things get corroded in place. They're somehow supposed to move, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm kind of unclear on exactly what the thing does, but so anyway, I got the lock nut off of there. Now we're gonna go ahead and take this the adjuster off. So I'm gonna have to readjust this one later on, which is no big deal. I actually learned how to do that on the other pressure washer I worked on. this is your spring for the adjustment. Now it gets corroded in there, the valve itself gets corroded, and there's also a washer in here that holds it, that corrodes it also. Alright, so we gotta find the right socket here. A little trick, I'm gonna show you how to undo one of these things. Right there. Alright, so this socket's actually a little bit bigger than the actual diameter of this. So you're just going to put that on there. Take your, the one nut. And you're basically going to tighten it. What it's going to do is going to pull the whole valve out while it's, while the socket holds everything in place. And there we have it. As you can see, she's corroded pretty bad. All this area should be all clean. That little valve there, it's sticking a little bit. So, alright. As I said, this washer is actually, it's not only a thing, but it's also a seal. Yeah, this thing's stuck good. This whole setup is supposed to move, and it is currently not moving. So give me a minute here. I'm going to shut this thing off, and I'm going to get this thing unstuck, and then we'll go from there with it. All right, and we're back. I'm going to show you what's going on here. This is the one piece for the valve. This is the other piece. These were the two that were stuck. As you can see now, we got them exactly, you know, they're supposed, this is how they're supposed to move. Alright, so what I do here, this is my go-to stuff right here, WD-40. What it does, it'll lubricate O-rings, but yet it won't actually harm them. Stuff like PB Blaster and whatnot, it seems like it would actually, you know, it would hurt them a little bit. It'd start eating them up eventually. But yeah, it's impossible to see, but there's a little hole in this thing. When this valve sits like this, it's closed. It opens just a little bit, and it opens. Again, my apologies. I do not know exactly what this valve does, but it is something to do with the wand itself, and it's why the thing will not produce pressure. Also, there's a pin at the very end of this which goes up and down. That was stuck also. Now that thing is as free as it can be. So go ahead and put this back in place. Alright, we're going to put your washer back in there. Then we'll give it a little love tap with a socket, just to make sure everything is where it belongs. Alright. So now our pin should slide back in the way it came out originally. One can only hope, anyway. Nope. Not quite. Alright, so we may have to put it down on its side a little bit in order to do this. That should be more than enough. Yep. All right. I had to compress that washer down just a tad in order to get it. This pin, actually, that washer is what holds it in place. And this little pin kind of locks it in place. If you notice, we got, look at that, perfect. All right. So now we're gonna go ahead and put your spring back in place, along with your thing. This little nut's got a little collar. It actually slides into the spring. I will have to adjust this when it's on the pressure washer, obviously, but I can get it, you know, fairly close anyway. Oh, wrong way. It should be. I felt the spring starting to tighten up a little bit, so I think that's about where I want to be. So we're going to head and put the lock washer on there. Lock nut, rather. Ugh. Yeah, of course I didn't. Well, I'll have to find a wrench later, but that's pretty much all there is to that whole valve thing. As I said, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know when it is sticking that it will not allow pressure to come out the thing. So tomorrow we're gonna find out if this little fix actually worked or not. Now, another thing I wanted to show you real quick. Here is the engine. I have the oil draining right now. I figured I'd let it drain overnight. It's getting late in the day. I'm not going to be able to finish this one tonight. But this is the original engine off the pressure washer. I pulled the flywheel, coil. I was going to show you a carburetor rebuild video on this, but this carburetor was actually perfect, to be honest with you. It wouldn't. It took me about 2 minutes to actually go through it. So, I had the muffler off. I went ahead and that valve cover that I mentioned that always leaks, that's been cleaned and sealed. We'll seal up the oil dipstick tomorrow and everything, but yeah, this thing isn't looking all too bad for a 1984 model. I would have loved to use the newer engine, but that just wasn't gonna happen, so that's all right. There was nothing actually wrong with this engine. I just figured it'd be nice to put the newer one on it, but hey, yeah, it's just the way things work. But anyway, I think after this, our next video is going to be with this thing out on the lawn. We're going to plug some water into it, and we're going to fire her off. So just hang tight for a little bit. All right, so here we are with a complete running, pumping pressure washer. I'd like to give everybody my apologies on this. I was actually filming a first start on this one, and the engine didn't want to hear it. As you know, I couldn't use the 2006 engine. Had to resort to the 2004, where that thing had been sitting out in the elements. The valves were sticking a little bit and whatnot. It took me a little while to coax it into starting, which it runs good now. Then all of a sudden, you know, I got that going and it wouldn't pump any pressure. I could hear the pump running, but right here, this is the end nozzle here. That thing's made out of metal. It actually had a little bit of rust in it. So I had to take that all back apart, clean that out again, blah, blah, blah. But you will hear a little bit of the valves on this engine when I have it running, where it's not, the valves aren't fully seated yet. It's just going to take a little running time in order to clear that. But anyway, we're going to start it up for you. And I brought out a couple mowers that I'm going to be doing for a future project. And I figured I'd go ahead and scrub them down a little bit. As you can see, we got all sorts of grime and dirt and everything else in here. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to fire up this pressure washer. We're going to clean these mowers up and see how it looks. So set you over here on a stand where we can see everything, hopefully. It should about do it. So first off, we're going to go ahead and give these mowers a little bit of a spray down with some junk. Like I said, I will explain this whole project in a little bit. But for right now, we're going to go ahead and just clean things up. This is that awesome cleaner from Dollar General. This stuff really works, guys. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you. It does the trick. You know, you can get a small jug of it for $1, $1.25 or whatever. And it really, it does great. These pressure washers actually have a function on the pump where you could mix this in with the water and everything. I haven't really looked into that yet. I own a pressure washer now, but of course it doesn't run. Go figure. Once that'll be another future video at some point. Once I get going on that, I'm gonna look into that and see if we can't, you know, do that, mix it with the water a little bit. Anyway, fire off this old Quantum, see how she runs. I'm gonna have to turn the pressure up on this pump. Obviously, it's not shooting anywhere near what it should be. But for for what you saw me begin with, we do have something that's gonna shoot water. May have to do some more adjustments on this nozzle and whatnot, but for the most part, I mean, hey, we got a running pressure washer again. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stick around. We got plenty more issues coming. We're gonna cover it all here. So thank you and have a great night.